上10点了。
Alright, you guys, since July 1st of this year, I began learning Mandarin Chinese alongside my sister. And yeah, here's a little bit of a documentation of how that has went until now. Now, the way I imagined this video was that I was gonna like start on day 1 and like do like the whole thing, but some things happened. I ended up getting a surgery that I did not expect to have this year. And yeah, like obviously like I just did not feel like picking up the camera during recovery time. So yeah, I'm about 40 hours in now and I'm finally like making the vlog. Yeah, I just wanted to document a little bit about my beginning with learning Chinese through comprehensible input. Okay guys, hello. I am so close to 40 hours in Chinese as of right now. Literally this morning, I just finished all of the Simply Chinese videos, and the last ones I watched were the mahjong. I'm definitely not saying that right. Sorry, y'all. I'm not even at 40 hours yet. My pronunciation is not that good. But it was wild because at first I was like, I kind of left them for the end because I didn't think they'd be interesting. And now like I really want to learn how to play mahjong. I don't know, like there's just something about like the pieces that are like so satisfying to me. So it's like I want to like play. So today we just started story learning Chinese with Annie. And so far so good. I'm worried about this one. I feel like this one is gonna get kind of crazy. It's like sometimes you could tell. It's like sometimes there's these playlists that the creators already made, and like the first one, the second one is like really strong, and then like the more you watch, like the worse it gets. Trying to find comprehensible input in other languages is no joke. It's no joke, y'all. So yeah, we will see. So you may be wondering why Chinese, why Mandarin out of all the languages. It is a little bit random for sure. But the reason why we decided to learn Chinese was honestly because this year we had tried to learn Vietnamese together and we tried to learn Korean together, and it just kind of kept flopping. Yeah, my sister was having like a hard time like really keeping up with everything, and even more because since I would continue to advance a lot, she kind of felt left behind. So she really wanted it to be kind of an experience that we could both like share together from scratch. So it was like, okay, what languages do we know nothing about? Like at some point she had started learning Portuguese, so we can't do that one. Things like that, you know? And so we decided to go for a language that we both in our lives have never tried to learn. Because me and my sister are the same, where it's like at some point she was learning Japanese and Korean, like we've always kind of been like dabbling in different languages along the way in our lives. So yeah, but between us, we really wanted to learn a language that neither of us had like any type of experience with, as well as something that had a good amount of comprehensible input to get us started. And so yeah, we ended up narrowing it down to Chinese. And so, you know, we both really enjoy C-dramas. So we were like, okay, like that gives us something to work with a little bit. Like we like see music as well. And yeah, so it was kind of like, okay, let's just go with Chinese. And we were able to find some absolute beginner comprehensible input to start with. And yeah, we just kind of got into it. And it's definitely been an interesting experience to say the least. Streaming Spanish definitely helped put comprehensible input more on the map. So more and more people are starting to make videos for comprehensible input in different languages, but nothing is really where Spanish is for comprehensible input, thanks to Dreaming Spanish. And yeah, thanks to a bunch of other creators as well though, because it's like a lot of different people really make good content for Spanish. And I think maybe Japanese would be a close second, but whenever it comes to Chinese, I would say maybe it's like the third best from what I've gathered. And so yeah, it's definitely been a little bit difficult sometimes because some of the super beginner videos from some creators really are beginner videos or even higher, honestly, in my opinion, because literally we went into this with zero Chinese. We both agreed to do the comprehensible input because my sister's not very familiar with it, but obviously I've been doing it in Spanish, and since it was kind of already more difficult for her to kind of stick to a study routine, it was like, look, like we're just gonna watch the videos and that's it. And for me, I really wanted to I don't know, see it from scratch, because I already had so much of a background with Spanish before getting into comprehensible input, where it was like I didn't get to see what it's like to learn it from scratch. So I really wanted to kind of give myself that experience a little bit. And so I was like, what's better than with Chinese, where I literally know almost nothing. I mean, I know literally nothing. I know a couple of words, a couple of phrases that I picked up from like Taiwanese dramas when I was a kid. And that's literally it. So yeah, it was more than anything kind of a moment to really put it to the test and see for myself what comprehensible input can really do whenever you are starting from zero, absolute scratch. And so in that way, it was very exciting, but also it's not without its frustrations. Whenever some people argue that you should at least have some vocabulary before diving into comprehensible input, I definitely see where they're coming from, because I don't know, as somebody who didn't have to learn Spanish from scratch, I did kind of get to skip the frustrating part of that. But then also being an English speaker, there's enough of Spanish in the very beginning where it's like there's so many little words that kind of overlap that like I feel like on a level you maybe are never really that lost. If you are a native English speaker, obviously another Romance language or something like that. But oh my goodness, if like your only language that you speak is something that's like totally not like Spanish, it's so much. And that's how I feel with Chinese, because it's like, of course, yeah, I don't know anything. And there's nothing to indicate, you know, like there's no sounds that are indicating like, oh, like other than like cafe, like, okay, like obviously that's coffee, whatever, not that difficult, but that's like it. And then, so it's just like the whole time, like everything is so new and like you really have to pay attention and like really like try to put the dots together. And there were some times where it's just like, I am so lost. And like, and I would say I don't get frustrated. I just stop caring. Like I'm just sitting in front of the screen and like, I'm in a different world, you know? And so it is something that was definitely interesting to have to experience like that, because it's like in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, but I know it works. I ended up like having a little bit of a conversation with somebody on Reddit who had started learning Chinese through comprehensible input, and they were like at 100 hours at the time that we spoke. And they were like, they had really good results. And they were like, by the time they got to 100 hours, like they were already able to watch Peppa Pig. And like, they were like, you know, Chinese is sounding more like a language now. But for me, where I'm at right now, it doesn't sound so much like a language yet. It's still kind of just noises and sounds, and it definitely can be difficult at times. I think as of right now, our goal in Chinese, and I keep saying our because me and my sister are like on this journey together, like literally every day, like we watch like the same videos, all of that. So that's also been kind of fun to kind of talk about it sometimes and be like, did you understand any of that? And like, you know, just like everybody's brain is so different. So that's also kind of fun to see like how we're doing the exact same things, but maybe like the comprehensible input isn't, you know, maybe she notices some words that maybe I don't notice, or like there's some sounds like that she notices. I think fully she's better than me at that. I remember like our first week, like she was able to make an audio, like already kind of remembering some of the words like that fast. And I was like, yeah, that is not me. So yeah, it's also interesting because my ear is definitely not as sharp as maybe some people's is, but yeah. I think more than anything is to just kind of get to a conversational level, at least in Chinese. And yeah, whenever it comes to following the roadmap, in the beginning, I was very optimistic about it. Since Chinese is nothing like English, according to the Dreaming Spanish roadmap, you have to double all the times by 2. So by 100 hours, we should be at the beginner level, which is like, because it's been so long just to get to 50. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see like how I don't know, I definitely have to say kudos to the people who follow the roadmap to like a T, like maybe like the purists, I should say, and who are doing it, you know, at a more normal pace, who aren't speed running, because just doing 30 minutes a day of Chinese, and then also, you know, allowing myself to take breaks whenever we need them. Like sometimes we'll be like, look, I just can't do it today. And we'll both agree like, okay, let's take a break. It's going to take like 10 years to finally be able to even start reading in Chinese, which would be like 1,200 hours at this point. Because according to the roadmap, at 600 hours is the best time to start reading in Spanish. So that would be 1,200 hours in Chinese. And for me, reading is something that like I genuinely enjoy. For me, it's like very motivating to be able to read and write in a language. Like for me, that's just kind of my thing in English. So it kind of translates to other languages for me as well. So I've also started to kind of battle with that a little bit, where it's like, is that really the best thing for me? Do I genuinely want to wait that long? Something I've enjoyed is so far like really trying to ignore opinion, but like whenever I see like the actual, whenever I see like the Hansi like on screen, I do enjoy kind of reading that and like kind of like seeing what I can acquire. And I've acquired a little bit, not a lot, but like I have acquired some of the characters, which was actually very cool. But yeah, obviously I will have to go from scratch and like figure out like the radicals and like all the little things. And so I just don't know if I'm willing to wait like 5 years to do that, because between my sister and I, she has other like life priorities going on where it's like she wants to learn a language, but it can't be her number one thing. And then for me, obviously Spanish is my number one language. So it's kind of like, I think that comprehensible input is definitely, it obviously works, but on a level, it's like, if you're not going to put that much time into it, it is going to take a while. And I just kind of wonder with like my goals in Chinese and like where I want to be in Chinese, if doing it that way is the best way for me. I mean, I think the comprehensive will always be like at the top, but like sometimes I wonder if like, you know, if I start reading a little bit earlier, maybe start doing a little bit of vocabulary study on the side, like how much would it hurt, you know? So yeah, that's something I've been thinking about. We agreed to at least like get to 50 hours before we really decide on that. But yeah, I think it would maybe help also with motivation, because since we only do 30 minutes a day, it is very slow progress. It really is. Is there progress? Yes, but it is slow. And like I said, like for me, reading is very motivating. So like it would really hit different to like be able to like, I don't know, read some webtoons in Chinese here and there, you know, definitely keep me going. So yeah, that's also something else that, there's something else to kind of think about when it comes to just like the way that, you know, we're approaching everything.
书的旁边有一个笔筒，放笔的笔筒在。
这辆车是绿色的。这辆车是蓝色的。
Y'all, we are so close to finally being at 50 hours. It's only been like 5 months now. I don't know, I can't do math. July, August, September. Okay, 3 months and like a half. I'm so excited. I mean, technically this is not a milestone when it comes to the levels, because since it's Chinese, you don't get to beginner level until 100 hours instead of like the 50. But it's 50 hours. We are halfway there, and that is exciting. We are so close. Yeah, something that I wanted to share is that one thing that I noticed about learning Chinese was that in the beginning it was really cool to see the connection between Korean and Chinese and like the little ways that there are, because it was like immediately I recognized numbers, because, you know, Korean numbers were the easiest thing for me, and then Korean numbers were more difficult. And like to this day, so remember like I'll see no Korean and like struggle with Korean numbers. But yeah, so that was cool. And then also the fact that there's counters, like whenever like they're counting something, I recognize that immediately. So that was fun, kind of having a little bit of background knowledge whenever it comes to Chinese, because besides that, I really don't got nothing. So yeah, I found that to be very helpful. And cool, just cool to see the connection. All right, you guys, so we officially hit 50 hours of Mandarin like 2 weeks ago, and I'm finally doing this video now. I just like, I don't know, it's just one of those things. It's like I really, really wanted this to be a thing where like I was really on top of it, but we see how I've done with that. Not the best, but here I am. Let's talk about it. Okay, so honestly, 40 hours to 50 hours really do not make much of a difference. And just to reiterate, I am not, you know, according to the Dreaming Spanish Roadmap, I've not hit a milestone in Chinese at this point. I'm still in super beginner, because in order to get to beginner, I need 100 hours, and I am officially at 50. So there's that. But yeah, I said like a few clips ago, I think, me and my sister were kind of talking about once we get to 50 hours, what are we going to want to do from here? We have decided to maybe start figuring out how to read in Chinese. And we've been researching about it and things like that. And as of right now, we've come up with maybe, I'm probably not going to say this right, but Zuyin, which comes from Taiwan. It's a little bit more appealing just because of the fact that we're trying to do a mainly comprehensible input method. And I really appreciate how with Zuyin, like you're literally learning a new way to read instead of doing the pinyin, which is just like using the Latin alphabet. So yeah, we haven't started that yet, but we're planning on doing it soon. So as of right now, we started doing drops to introduce some vocabulary, and we got the Drops app, not paying for it or anything, just using it for free. But on Drops, you can take off pinyin. But anyways, yeah, on Drops, you could take off pinyin, and then you can also choose if I forgot to say that. We are gonna go with traditional. That one was hard because whenever I went into this, I was thinking that I was just gonna stay simple, doing the simplified characters, but after like us talking about it, we kind of have leaned towards traditional, which also makes sense of why we would learn Zuyin instead of pinyin, because Zuyin comes from Taiwan, and in Taiwan they use traditional characters. As of right now, I don't want to get so much into the background on that. Maybe on a different day whenever I start talking about how it's actually going, but as of right now, it's all speculation. We haven't really decided. We're just gonna kind of like dip our toes in and see how we feel. But yeah, so on Drops, you can choose all of that type of stuff. So we took off the pinyin and we've made it like audio. So like we have to listen to it, which makes it a little bit difficult on Drops sometimes, because sometimes you have to like spell the word. And obviously like after seeing it so many times, like you don't just, at least I haven't memorized the Hanzi for it, sorry. So yeah, it's kind of like a guessing game at that point, but so far it is really nice that that's an option, at least, where it's like I'm not looking at the pinyin and I'm able to kind of like digest the words and like get them into my brain, with it being basically comprehensible input. I think Drops is kind of good for comprehensible input in that way. And yeah, so there's that. But that's really all we've added at this point. Like I said, we haven't fully began with reading or anything like that. I think maybe here soon we will, but we haven't. And then we did watch an episode of Peppa Pig. My sister really liked it. I'm not loving it. For me, it was very, 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 very difficult. So I think we're just going to stick to Little Fox by now. I will say this journey has been extremely difficult because being still in super beginner and not having any more access to super beginner content is not it's not great. It's not a good experience. It does make it a lot harder than it needs to be, obviously. And yeah, so I think Little Fox is like a good starting place to continue with whenever it comes to that, because yeah, like we have exhausted the super beginner content in Chinese at this point. We've even rewatched some things. And yeah, that's how it's going. So yeah, at this point, I really do feel like the vocabulary is needed, and kind of I've talked about it before in some other clips, but like we were already kind of debating it. And now that we're at 50 hours, it's giving a yes. We're going to go forward with it. And yeah. Okay, something I forgot to talk about was a roadmap, which honestly, at this point, being super beginner, there's just not a lot that I could say with the roadmap. If you want to see her, she is here. This is where you should be at a super beginner, yada, yada, yada. As for what I can do now at 50 hours, I've picked up some very, very, very basic vocabulary. Like I'm talking colors and I'm talking like animals, and then like maybe like some family members, and then like the pronouns, like me, you, us, like those types of things. Yeah, and then very, very basic grammar, but very basic grammar. Like I'm talking like I am sad. You are happy. He is hungry. This is my mom. This is my cat. Like those things I get, and I don't really know anything else. So yeah, that's it. At this point, I should know like words like or and, but they still are lost on me. It's like I can kind of recognize them in the moment, but like I never walk away with them in my memory. So there's that. And then tones. Y'all. In my opinion, I don't think I should be opening up my mouth to say a word in Chinese until I can understand tones on my own, because 50 hours in, the tones in me, we're struggling. We're really, really struggling. Like, that just is what it is, because I'm just like, it's like, of course, while I'm listening to the Chinese, I notice there's tones happening. I can tell that it's happening, but it's like with every word that I have in my brain, there's no tone attached, if that makes sense. Like for me, the tones seem like miles and miles and miles away from where I'm at. So once I can say that I know Chinese tones, like once I've acquired those, it is such a busy day. Like the street is popping. We have a lot of things going on. But no, once I acquire the tones, I'll feel like I've made it in some ways. But as of right now, yeah, she's still lost on me. So that kind of gives you a little bit more insight into where I'm at personally on this journey. And yeah, that is where I'm at as of right now. I'm feeling good about Chinese overall. I definitely feel excited about it. Now, Chinese does not take over Spanish for me. Like, I still do my Spanish the way I want to do my Spanish, and then Chinese is fully a side thing. But yeah, at this point, we're just going to keep on moving ahead. We're still at like 30 minutes a day. I think even with the vocabulary incorporation, we're going to continue forward with that. But yeah, also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but we use Lingo Track. So I've done a Lingo Track this entire time to keep up with everything that I've done in Chinese, and so has my sister, and yeah. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please look forward to any future updates about Chinese to see how that is going to continue to go in my life. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, like always. Bye. No, it was funny because whenever I first moved to Chile and like I heard that, I would like ask my partner like, oh, like why don't we ever go outside and like get any of the ice cream? They're like, what do you mean? Like there's no ice cream? And I'm like, yes, like I hear the ice cream man like every day, like he comes by. And then I found out it's just somebody who is trying to sell gas. That is a gas man. That is not the ice cream truck.